Some of my friends are real cheapskates. They think €3 for a cup of coffee is outrageous, so I've stopped inviting them over. Welcome to Shave&Butcher. It's time for a tag video. I've been tagged by Matti Lindholm to do the new what was it called? Hang on, sorry. Best new shaver setup. So John June, JJ Shaves, came up with this tag, tagged Matti tagged me. So what gear should a new wet shaver use? And that is an impossible question to answer, but I'll answer it in one way. And I think it makes sense if you're new to it and you're curious, you may not know if you like it, and you may not know what you'll like in terms of hardware, software, and with that I mean razors and blades and brushes and soaps and aftershaves and pre-shaves and middle shaves and whatever else you have. So starting with decent stuff, good stuff, which isn't outrageously expensive, I think makes quite a lot of sense. So for example, I get this at my supermarket in Sweden, and you get it in a number of countries, I think. It's a cream, shave cream, palm olive shave cream. There are plenty different ones, and you can use a hard soap or a soap or a cream in a container. You can use all sorts of things, but this is quite decent. I use it, and I'm rather picky, and it's cheap and it's readily available, so why not? Then I'd pick up a synthetic brush. I use synthetic brushes, which are plastic, basically plastic hairs, as well as natural hair brushes, but these are easier to work with, easier to keep clean, and cheaper or less expensive. This is Nöbru, which is one 20-30 euros, I think, and you can get cheaper ones. But some of the ones in the supermarket are rubbish. You want hairs that are reasonably soft to the touch, but where they have a bit of backbone, so they're just not too flimsy. This one is okay. It's decent. There are better brushes, but then you pay more money. So, for example, and this is available in some, not supermarkets, but like airports at least in Scandinavia. So you can use that. Razor. I started with a straight razor. That was my first real wet shaving or traditional shave product. Probably maybe, well, put it this way, I brought two. If you want to start with a safety razor, a double-edged razor, DE razor, you can start with one that is available in supermarkets, and it's a C Gillette. This is Gillette's attempt at, or test to see if people like traditional ways of shaving again. I like it. I'm not very familiar with double-edged razors. Starting to like them. I think this one is cool. It's good. It comes with a few blades, which I don't know if they're any good, but they work for me. So that's one way of doing it easily. This is a 3-piece non-adjustable razor, so it has hang on. It has, what does it have? A top cap, which has pins like that. And in those you take the razor blade and you use this purpose razor blade. You don't take the ones you cut carpets with. And you put that in there. I just put that in there, you can't see it. And then you have a bottom plate, which you put on top. And then you have the handle, which you screw on. Gumsa. Huh? Very good. And make sure it's tight enough. And then you're supposed to check if they're aligned to me they always are. So there's your razor, cheap and cheerful, and here you go. Or you can use a straight razor, but then you need more gear to keep them sharp, and you need a skill to hone them. So you can start with a Chevette, which is a straight razor looking piece of kit, and you use half of these double-edged blades. You snip them in two and you put them in, and that's what that looks like. This is, I think this one is 20 euros. Cheaper now, it's Black Friday sort of thing, but 20 euros or $22, $23, probably cheaper in North America, since that's where they come from. This one is about the same. This is a Parker. I don't know which Parker actually. There are a few different ones. I purchased this secondhand, so I paid $5 for it. And it has half of the E-blade. It's sort of, you shouldn't hold it like that, but I will anyway, so the blade stays in there, but, hang on. No, it opens like that, and you put the blade in at the bottom, so it's there. I don't want to take it out because it's difficult to get into place properly, and then you close it, and then you take out the blade basically. But you can purchase that because that doesn't cost too much. No, straight razor kind of looking razors are a bit more difficult, quite a lot more difficult to handle. I'm more used to them, so I think the double-edged razors are a bit tricky. But hey, I'm making this wet. Natural hairbrushes you need to soak. I'm just gonna flick it once. Sorry, getting emails. You want them wet. Making a lather is a whole, it's a whole thing of its own. So I'm taking this green cream out like that. It's a bit too much actually. Try your way with making lather. I'm not going to spend a long time doing it. I usually do. So it's just there, putting it on the face. Spraying a bit to mix in the water. So this has quite a lot of water. I usually start up much drier. I don't know why I'm doing this. And then I add a lot of water to build the lather. I was trying to not do that, but rather have it kind of ready from the get-go by having a brush which is more wet. And I'm making a mess, but making a mess is okay. You kind of do. So I splay the brush quite a bit. I do that to mix the soap, the cream with the water, because you need a bit of agitation to make the mix properly. I splay quite a bit. You don't have to. And you can put this amount of cream or hard soap into a bowl and make a lather in the bowl. That's another way of doing it. But this is cheap and cheerful. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of water because I can't help myself. Look, getting little peaks, which is nice. So you can experiment with how you want your lather. If you want it wet or dry or big or small, it's a matter of preference. There are no right or wrongs. The lather has to be moisturized enough so that it's not cakey. This is quite a lot drier than I'm used to, but I'm gonna leave it there for simplicity purposes. Now, there's still quite a bit of lather in the brush. I'm gonna use that because I shave with 2 or more passes. So the first pass I go essentially with the grain. So I've figured out how my beard grows. It grows in all kinds of directions, but above the chin essentially grows downwards, and down here it grows upwards. So in the first pass I try to shave with the grain to basically remove as much hair as I can, and then on the second pass I try to get really close. Now with these things you need to keep an angle, and you basically you move it around until you feel it cut properly, because it doesn't cut there, it doesn't cut there, but it cuts in the middle. You can even hear it. And this removes quite a bit of hair. I don't know if you can see that. No, you can't. It's disgusting. So I'll shave half my face with this one and half with the other. So keeping the angle is important. And since I don't shave with double-edged razors, safety razors very much, I find keeping the angle a bit difficult. Yeah, but that takes away a lot of hair. It's gooey, nasty. And then I just rinse it off so it's clean again. And I swapped hands for some reason. You can. So this is also mainly with the grain. And the purpose of this with the grain pass is just basically removing as much hair as possible. There you go. Not too hard, no blood. There's usually blood after a while. This thing is a bit trickier. You should watch YouTube videos on how to use it properly. Usually held like this. One finger on the tang, on the tail here, and 2 fingers like that. I hold it like a bread knife, which people think is ridiculous, so you don't need to do that. Now, you can stretch the skin, toward the skin if you want to. A lot of people do that. I typically don't. You want to find an angle with this one too. It is trickier. You can put it flat where nothing cuts, and then you gradually change the angle to be a bit bigger until it cuts, and then you go. But this takes time to learn, and you generally cut yourself quite a lot in the beginning. So, and I still cut myself. There probably will be blood today. Well, I don't cut myself very often, but I nick myself. That's just part of shaving, really. So which type of razor you use is just a matter of preference. They do the same thing. They use the same blade, so the effect is very similar. As I said, it's a steeper learning curve with these straight razor style razors. So a traditional straight razor doesn't have exchangeable blades. It just has one blade which you sharpen regularly. But there you go. That's the first pass. So I'm gonna do a second pass as well, where I go essentially against the grain. I don't want to do that straight away, because then I get irritation and I don't get the closeness and I don't get all the hairs. So shaving 2 or 3 times, 2 or 3 passes is the most common and something I recommend. A lot of people do 3 passes, 1 with the grain, 1 across the grain, and then the third one against the grain, or across again from the other side. And just play with it. Some people don't want to shave every day and do well. Some people shave every day and they don't want to get irritations. They shave with 1 pass, perhaps, or 1.5. So going against the grain, trying to get the angle where it cuts. And really it's a matter of trying it out until it cuts. I'm bad at going up against my nose with a double-edged razor. This is so slippery, I need a piece of tissue because I need to make the skin a bit taut here. There you go, that's good enough. And the chin. And that's just very smooth. You can keep using it until it gets baby butt smooth. It's a term, BBS. And I do sometimes, but most of the time I don't. I just get pretty damn close on the shave. But you want to play around with it and do one pass at the beginning and then try the other. You know, I say that, but the first shave I did 2 passes and I butchered myself. I looked like I'd been in a fight with a bear. Sure, there's a bit of blood. It's not a cut, it's a small nick. Happens all the time. Now, on the second pass, when I go against the grain, I want to make the skin taut. So I push down here to keep it taut as I move the razor. Yeah, it's brilliant. When you go around bends, you need to change, you need to move the razor like this so you keep basically the same angle. Another thing, and this John June mentioned this in his video, I've never thought about it. Don't use your wrist. Keep the wrist pretty tight. Well, don't move it, and move your arm instead. So, piece of tissue, and we go across. That should do it. Okay, and then brims and on the neck. So the hair grows. I'm gonna add, since I had my fingers down here, I took a lot of the soap off. So I'm adding a bit. And all this is lubrication, really. Lubrication to make sure the blade slides effortlessly. Because you don't want to put strain on the skin. You want to cut the hairs. So the soap does 2 things. It makes everything slick, so it glides easily, and it makes the hairs brittle, so they stand up a bit and brittle, because the alkali in the soap does that, and then they cut more easily. Because if the hairs are too oily, and they are oily naturally, they don't cut as well. It's like wet grass doesn't cut as well as dry grass when you mow the lawn. So putting a bit of water on my hands and feeling, and feels good. There are some spots I could work at that aren't perfect, but I won't, because I'm happy like that, and I don't want the aggravation, the irritation. Very nice. Soap's gone. Looks good. Good enough for a date, even, perhaps. That's it, and you can leave it at that, or you can use post-shave products, and you don't have to. But essentially 2 kinds. You have an aftershave, everybody see that, this is Italian Pro Raso, or you can use a aftershave balm or any moisturizing cream if you like to, and if you want to re-moisturize your skin. Because even if you have a soap with super nice ingredients, the process of putting it on and shaving will dry your skin a little bit, or a lot. This soap doesn't have a lot of post-shave properties, in my opinion. So I want to put a bit of lotion on. But I'm starting. You can do both, which I usually do. So getting that into my hands. You probably do this already. Oh, it smells nice. I'm gonna do the head as well. I shaved my head before, and that's brilliant. And when that dries up a bit, I'm gonna put a moisturizing cream on it. That's it. That's the whole thing. That's gear you can use without spending a fortune, and get a shave which is just as good as a shave where you use $50 soap, because you can buy that. What's an expensive brush? I don't have many, but you can spend $500 on a brush, I think. People do that, or at least a good part of that. A straight razor, you can spend $500, $700, $1,100 on a straight as well if you want to. So you can go really expensive, or you can go super cheap, or you can go sort of medium way, which I typically do. And you find your way, and if you like some of this stuff, good, you're into the shaving hobby, and then you start experimenting with what you need, if you want to, or you just use the stuff you purchased on day one. But starting without spending a fortune before you know if you like it and what you like, I think makes a lot of sense. And John June will agree, because he said the same thing in his video. And whether or not you want a safety razor or a straight razor type razor like this Parker Chevette, you don't know, or maybe you do, but try both. I started with one kind and very much later got into the other kind. Some people stick with their first choice for a long time. I'd experiment. If you get really into the hobby and really nerdy about it, experiment, try things out. So I've got 50 razors, 110 soaps, and 30 brushes, which is ridiculous. Don't go that far, and many people have loads more than I do. But that, be careful, because you can get sucked into the rabbit hole. But anyway, that's it. Thanks, John June, for starting the tag. I think this is interesting. And thank you, Matti, for tagging me. Appreciate it. And thank you very much. Stay well, stay sharp. You have a good week ahead of you. Try and make the most of it. Try not to get COVID as well. That thing really sucks, I've heard. That's it. Take care. Stay sharp. See you soon.